Hi, have you missed me? It is Friday, December 19th. I'm trying to unwind from the day I went and bought some salted caramel, like a Bailey's, the Carolina line. I got a coffee here and I'm trying to unwind from the week. It's been a crazy week. It really, really has. Business, it's been like this in the restaurant industry. I did really well yesterday. I did extremely well today. I did a private party, a banquet, a little Christmas event. How are you, though? What's going on? Are you ready for Christmas? Are you done with your shopping? What big plans do you have? And what are you missing from Christmases ago? Kitryn Marie, reside in St. Louis, Missouri, an artist, writer, speaker, life and a business coach. Lend my hand in the food and beverage industry to try to keep life real. It has been quite the week. I cannot believe that we are getting down to the wire, and 2026 is right there. Blink, and these next 2 weeks are just gonna completely fly by. You reflect a lot this time of year. You think back to when you were a child and, the Christmases that you had or the Christmases you didn't have. You think about your best gift. You think about the gift you didn't get. You think about the people you're surrounded with. And you think about the food. In the past couple weeks, that's all I have thought about is Italian cookies. And on Monday, I will get over to my favorite Italian store and pick up all the goodies that I need. I have not baked one thing this season, just haven't been in the mood. I will be home Christmas Day with my youngest, and I think that will be the day I'm going to do a turkey for him and I will bake some goods so we have it in the house. But I've been craving bignolata, which is struffoli for anybody else who doesn't know bignolata. My grandma was from the north part of Italy, blonde, fair. My grandfather was more darker complected, dark hair at one time. As he got older, it was more salt and pepper, but he was more from Sicily, the southern part at the boot, and Graham and Grandpa would talk in Italian, but some of their terms were completely different based on what part of Italy that they lived in. But bignolata was the little dough balls that are covered in honey, and then they have the sprinkles on top of it. And my Aunt Grace used to make me a plate just for me because I could make a whole meal out of it, and I'm craving it really, really bad. I think last year I had made gigelinas, the little sesame seed. They're about yay big, little biscuit kind of cookies, and then they're made with the sesame seed, and you bake them. My grandma used to call them dunkers. When they come out of the oven, they're so soft, but when they sit after a while, they get real hard, and they're real good with coffee. They are my all-time favorite Italian cookie. So this time of year, I always think about the cookies. I think about my grandma. She'd start baking a little bit after Thanksgiving, and she'd put it in big Christmas boxes, and she would hide it under her bed. All the cookies that she would make, like we didn't know where they were. Or, when she knew that there was going to be a special occasion after Christmas, she would take some of that and put it in another box, and she would keep it in her pajama drawer, like we didn't know where that was. Like when she was making bianca mangiati, which is a cassata cake, she used to take and hide Hershey bars with the almonds in her bill paying drawer. And when we wanted a treat in the house and there wasn't anything in the cabinets or in the refrigerator, we knew where she was hiding the candy bars. And when she'd go to make the bianca mangiati cake, she wouldn't have the chocolate. And she'd be very upset. And she always knew it was me that went after it. With the holidays, you think about all those funny stories. You think about all those goodies that you had as a kid that you don't get now, other than if you go to buy it. You know, I've been going up to Urzi's on the hill, and I've been buying, you know, little specialty things here and there. That has been my whole big treat in the last 6 months. So whatever you're doing right now to get you through the holidays, take the time to go get yourself a special treat. Get yourself something that is going to, you know, bring you a little joy, a little Christmas happiness into your world, because a lot of people will be struggling, you know, with it being darker early, with the weather being colder, you know, seasonal depression, and then you have the holidays. You know, a lot of people suffer. A lot of people suffer through, you know, it getting so dark and working, and, you know, it's dark in the morning when you go to work, and it's dark when you come home, and so on and so forth. And then you have the holidays, and there's nobody to share them with. So be kind to people. You don't know what they're thinking. You don't know what they're going through. You don't know how their memory is triggering certain events. You know, I have been fortunate where throughout most of my life I have had some very, very good Christmases. And as a kid growing up, my sister and myself, we really didn't do without. My dad would go overboard at Christmas time. He wouldn't be generous throughout the year, and he would make you literally beg for something if you needed it throughout the year. But come Christmas time, it was game on. You know, one year I got a fur coat, a diamond ring, a ruby ring, a TV. I mean, my dad was over the top. One year he gave me $1,000 so I could put down and go buy a car. Just silly, silly stuff. And we would spend Christmas Eve with my grandma's side of the family. And then on Christmas Day, we would spend it with my dad's side of the family. You know, also, usually this time of year, I try to make it to all the cemeteries. And I can make it to my dad's because he's at JB, but where my mom and my grandma and, you know, my Aunt Sarah, they're all at another cemetery that is just not safe for me to go to. And it makes me sad because this is the one time of year I really find peace going to the cemetery. So if you have the opportunity to go visit a grave and a loved one, to, you know, just remember, you know, to give thanks, to send that little extra prayer, do so. It'll make yourself feel better, and it will bring you a little bit of joy, even if you are suffering and are sad without having the family members that have gone on, you know, before you. But I've got more Christmas shopping I need to do. I started this week. You know, I was sick with a respiratory thing last week for about 5 days. I was so sick when I worked last Saturday night at my second job. It was just absolutely insane, but I managed. And then Sunday, I laid on the couch under a blanket and actually watched a Christmas movie, which I don't watch TV. And the youngest came in the living room, and he kind of stood there and looked at me. He goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "What? I'm watching TV and I'm laying on the couch." He goes, "You must be sick. You don't watch TV." But I got through the Grinch. Like, you know, I didn't know how it was going to end. But I like the Jim Carrey version of the Grinch, and I love that little dog Max. And that, you know, and I had all my dogs all laying around me. Today it is cold here in St. Louis. You know, yesterday it was in 56, I think. Today, if it broke 40. And then I think they were calling for rain. Somebody had said it had snow flurried last night. I'm like, I missed that. I went to bed, I think, at 9:30. But I wanted to ask, going into 2026, you know, I don't make resolutions. I think resolutions are a waste of energy or a waste of time, and you end up, you know, defeating yourself, trying to achieve something that you set out to do with good intention, but never actually, you know, implement it. So, let me ask you this. Going into 2026, what are you willing to leave behind in 2025? And are you sure that you want to leave 2025 and everything and anyone and whatever the situation would be in the past. You know, this is a 9-year. It is the year of the snake. Anything and everybody pretty much shed the skin, and we saw exactly who they were, what the character was, you know, in relation to how they treated you, how you were being treated in your job, how you were treated wherever you go to hang out. We saw characters shed the skin. 2026 is the year of the horse. It is a 1 year. It is the year where it's a get up and go, and there's no looking back. It is a year of fast speed, and once something is in motion, it will stay in motion and it will not slow down. Inertia will have a whole new meaning, going back to once the ball gets going, there will be no stopping it. And are you ready for that? Are you ready to leave behind 2025? Are you ready to leave that old skin and that old way of life behind, knowing you've got brand new in front of you? It starts a whole new 9-year cycle. I cannot tell you how happy I am that the last 9 years will be behind me. And I say that with great trepidation, because there were almost 6 years where I thought I was this close to the life that I was trying to build with my person. It seemed like this close we were to achieving what most people never can. And then somewhere along the line, you know, life happens. There are misunderstandings. Rugs get pulled out underneath you, and you get tired of the chase. You get tired of trying to fight for something that you're trying to achieve, but the other person can't leave behind or cannot disconnect from who they are attached to. When you were going into 2026, there are no attachments. It is yourself, your dreams, your desires, your goals, and what tools you have to work with. And anybody who could not support you in 2025, or even over the last 7, 9, 10, 11, 12 years, they will be nothing but a closed chapter in your book. You know, the apologies that never came, the coldness that showed up, the detachments, the avoidance, the miscommunications, the undiagnosed health issues that should have probably taken front and center. If you don't have your health, you have nothing. So when you are going into 2026, what are you starting with? And are you sad that there will be certain people that you are leaving behind that cannot go with you? 2026 is a whole new ballgame. And are you ready for it? Are you ready to embrace what's left in life so you can be happy, healthy, successful? But I want to know. I want to know, what are you looking forward to in 2026? You know, I started an e-commerce site. It is Kitryn-Marie.printify.com. I had it wrong when I was giving my video the other day, but I changed it. It's in the little comment things of the last video. You know, it's my art that I've put into usable and wearable merchandise. I want to expand on that. I want to expand there. I did pick up one coffee brand that is in that e-commerce store. It's a chocolate mocha coffee blend. But what's nice is because it's all my art, all my work. that I have done, classes that I've taught, where I can now take, my creativeness and put it into usable products. But I want to expand, I want to add more to it. I want to add more of a coffee line. I want to add sheets. I want to add towels. I want to look into wallpaper, and I sound like a broken record. I want to travel. I am taking off Christmas Day through the 30th, I believe. Right after Christmas, I'm taking some days just so I can intently work on my e-commerce shop and see what else I can bring into it. I'd still like to find a place for all of my merchandise, my handcrafted sewn things that I've done. I want to make sure that wherever I put them, it is going to behoove me, the best possible way, and it's going to possibly benefit somebody else who has a store or in consignment. I want to continue to try to work on finding brand deals. And, if you are starting out as a content creator, buy the product that you like. Learn how to talk about it. Learn how to speak on the product. Learn how to talk about the benefit and why somebody else would also want that product. I had reached out. There was somebody that had, it was a powdered drink. What's the word I'm looking for? Powder form, goes into to whatever it is you drink, and it had electrolytes and it had creatine. Creatine is what holds the your water, your moisture in your body. I can't even talk anymore. But I had reached out to her and, told her who I was and what I did, and I'm waiting to hear a response back from her. Ask the people who you follow. Ask them to send you the product so that way you can turn around and you can talk about it. You can, tell others the benefits. You always want to think positive. You always want to speak highly of. And even if you don't care for the product that you're using, be kind. There's no reason to be hateful, to be mean, to be, derogatory, the undertones of ugly. Nobody wants to hear that for, going into 2026. But Christmas Day, like I said, it will be me and my youngest. I have a full day of cooking and baking for us. And then we will celebrate with my daughter and my oldest son and the grandkids a couple days later. Very low-key holiday. I always said at some point in life I want to be gone from Christmas into the New Year's. So if you get that opportunity, take the opportunity and go. Look to see how many years do you have behind you and how many years do you have in front of you and what's holding you back. Why are you not doing what you need to do so you can be happy? Leave a legacy. Leave those memories. Let people see all the good things that is viable in this life. Nobody wants to be with, an energy vampire. Nobody wants to be with a narcissist. Nobody wants to be with someone who constantly is in victimhood and woe is me. So think about your 2026. Who are you surrounding yourself with? Who are the people that are bringing you joy and that are bringing you love? And you can start new traditions and create new memories, building that legacy and being possibly the it couple that everybody wants to imitate. But I'm Kitryn Marie, an artist, writer, speaker, life and a business coach for today, for tomorrow. Be happy, be blessed, be thankful for everything. Remember, fate turns on a dime, and it is up to you to decide what side of the coin you want to be on. Y'all take care, and I hope I will be seeing you and talking to you, right before Christmas. Keep your fingers crossed that on Monday I get all my shopping done. But y'all take care. I'll see you soon.